Football has had no shortage of underdog stories. It's one of the things that attracts so many to the game. Denmark winning a competition they didn't even qualify for, Leicester City becoming champions of England with odds of 5,000 to 1, Greece toppling some of their continent's biggest nations to lift the 2004 European Championship, defeating the host nation in the final. The thing is, all of these stories have a happy ending, which is arguably why they continue to endure all these years later. However, not every underdog has its day. San Marino, a European microstate enclaved by Italy, has garnered the reputation of the worst national football team in the world, primarily due to their infamous record of having never won a competitive international fixture since their recognition by both UEFA and FIFA in 1988. Despite this, these San Marino players continue to forge ahead with hopes of becoming a part of history, leading their nation to its first ever win. This is the story of football's greatest underdogs. This is the story of San Marino. Located on the northeastern side of the Apennine Mountains, San Marino covers a land area of just over 61 kilometers squared, roughly 23.5 square miles, making it the fifth smallest country in the world. With a population of just over 33,500, the entire country has less inhabitants than the likes of American Samoa, Greenland, and even the Isle of Man. Despite its size, the country has produced some noteworthy names in the world of sport, such as Manuel Poggiali, a former 125 and 250cc world champion in motorcycling, and Alessandra Pirelli, an Olympian who was the first San Marino citizen to win a medal, taking both a bronze and silver at the 2020 Tokyo Games. Even in the world of football, San Marino produced one of the finest midfielders of his generation, Massimo Bonini, an integral part to the famous Juventus side of the 1980s, alongside the likes of Platini, Boniek and Tardelli. Domestic football in San Marino consists of a single 15-team league, the winner of which progresses through to the first qualifying round of the Champions League. The San Marino Football Federation was formed in 1931, however a national team wasn't founded until 1986, where they played an unofficial international game against Canada's under-23 team, which resulted in a 1-0 loss. Prior to gaining affiliation in 1988, San Marinese players had been considered Italian in the context of international football, but now that they were members of both FIFA and UEFA, they could compete as an independent nation in major championships. San Marino's first officially sanctioned match in a FIFA competition took place on the 14th of November 1990 against Switzerland, as part of the qualification process for the 1992 European Championships. San Marino would lose that game 4-0, and would eventually lose all 8 of their qualifying matches, finishing bottom of their group, conceding 33 goals. They did however score their first international goal in a 3-1 defeat to Romania, with Valdez Pasolini writing his name into the history books, forever to be known as the man who scored his nation's first ever international goal. For San Marino's first ever World Cup qualifying campaign, they were placed in a difficult group, alongside footballing powerhouses the Netherlands and England, as well as an always dangerous Norwegian side. Much like their inaugural Euros adventure, San Marino would once again finish bottom of their group by quite some distance. However, this particular qualifying campaign would see the country make even more history for themselves. Their opening 4 games went as many expected, conceding 22 goals, including a 10-0 thumping against Norway in their opening fixture. They did manage to score their second international goal against Turkey, despite losing that game by 4 goals to 1, and it would be against those same opponents that San Marino would claim their greatest achievement to date. On the 10th of March 1993, at the Stadio Olimpico in Serravalle, San Marino, after 13 defeats in a row, were able to put a stop to their losing streak and claim their first ever draw and thus first ever point in international qualification with a 0-0 result. Unfortunately, they were unable to carry this momentum on as they lost their next 4 games, conceding 17 and scoring none. Their final qualifier was against England, who needed a win and results to go their way if they were to make it onto the plane to America for the 1994 World Cup. Everyone expected England to win, but no one could have imagined the seismic event that would occur that evening, and it only took 8.3 seconds.
England in Graham Taylor's time, so San Marino kick-off. Remember that Holland on this very ground. Oh, it's a mistake by Pearce, and humiliation here.
Davide Gualtieri scored his nation's 3rd ever goal and, in the process, became the scorer of the fastest goal in World Cup history, including both qualification and the tournament proper, a record that would stand for over 20 years. For 20 minutes, San Marino led England until Paul Ince equalised for the Three Lions, thereby opening the floodgates, with the match finishing 7-1 to England. Despite the scoreline, the biggest headline from that game was Galtieri's goal, and the humiliation of England's national side. It's believed by many that Galtieri's strike is what prevented England from qualifying, as they had to win by 7 clear goals, but they also needed Poland to beat the Netherlands, which they failed to do. Despite finishing bottom of their group, and despite conceding 46 goals in 10 games, San Marino had inadvertently put themselves at the forefront of the footballing world, if only for 90 minutes. San Marino's second Euros qualification campaign for the 1996 edition went the same way as their first, finishing bottom of their group and conceding a goal more than their 1992 campaign. However, there were moments of joy to be had as they scored their first ever away goal in European Championship qualification against Finland in a 4-1 defeat. Even by San Marinese standards, qualification for the 1998 World Cup in France was disastrous, losing every game by at least 3 goals and failing to find the net even once. It was a similar story throughout the qualification for Euro 2000, as they once again lost every game, conceding 43 goals in just 8 games, which included a 9-0 defeat to Spain in Villarreal. It was during this campaign that forward Andy Selva scored his first international goal, the only time San Marino found the net during qualification. A significant milestone, as Selva would go on to become his country's all-time leading goalscorer, finding the net 8 times throughout his international career. San Marino's World Cup 2002 campaign did see some improvement in front of goal, as they scored their highest amount of goals in any qualification cycle, scoring on 3 occasions. They were able to secure a 1-1 draw away in Latvia, securing their first ever point in World Cup qualification. Their Euro 2004 campaign was a marked step down, as San Marino once again failed to secure a single point, as they lost all 8 games without scoring. Despite another horrendous campaign, little did San Marino know that out of this darkness would shine a most blinding light, as they were about to experience something that had seemed impossible up until that point. On April 28, 2004, Liechtenstein travelled to the Stadio Olimpico in Serravalle to play San Marino in a friendly. The two had previously played out a 2-2 draw in another friendly match in Vaduz in 2003, so the San Marinese had every right to be cautiously optimistic about being able to gain another draw against these opponents. With 5 minutes on the clock, Andy Selva sent a free kick past the Liechtenstein goalkeeper Pete Jalle and into the back of the net. It was the first time that San Marino had led a game since that night in 1993 against England. They were able to hold on to their lead for the rest of the game, and finally, after more than 70 attempts, San Marino won an international match. It may have just been a friendly and not a competitive fixture, but the San Marinese players and fans couldn't have cared less. They could finally enjoy the sweet taste of victory. Unfortunately, they were unable to ride that particular high forever, and normal service was resumed with their qualification campaign for the 2006 World Cup in Germany, with yet more one-sided results. Andy Selva did, however, increase his international tally by scoring San Marino's only 2 goals throughout that qualification, one against Belgium at the Stadio Olimpico, and the other coming against Bosnia and Herzegovina. Euro 2008 qualification saw San Marino endure their worst ever defeat, as they lost 13-0 to footballing powerhouses Germany on September 6, 2006. Despite this, the San Marinese came close on 2 occasions to gaining a point, losing by a single goal to Cyprus, and Ireland having to rely on a 94th minute winner to scrape a 2-1 victory. Still, they finished bottom of the group, seeing the ball hit the back of their net 57 times throughout the 12 games. The 2010 World Cup and Euro 2012 campaigns followed a similar trajectory, with San Marino only scoring 1 goal throughout both qualification cycles, all whilst conceding a total of 100 goals across the combined 20 matches, which included a 10-0 loss to Poland in 2009 and an 11-0 loss to the Netherlands in 2011, giving both sides their largest ever victories. Not much changed in their 2014 World Cup qualification campaign, continuing their trend of finishing bottom of the group by some distance, except for one brief moment of joy. During their encounter with Poland at the Stadio Olimpico, Alessandro Della Valle headed in from a free kick, which not only brought San Marino level in the match, but was their first competitive goal in 5 years, and first goal of any kind since a 3-2 defeat to Malta in 2012. Poland would go on to win that game 5-1, But that would matter little to Della Valle, as he was able to celebrate his first and only international goal. San Marino had to wait until November 15th, 2014 for their next noteworthy accomplishment, as they held Estonia to a 0-0 draw in a Euro 2016 qualifier at the Stadio Olimpico, ending a 61-game losing streak. It was the first time in 10 years that the San Marinese were able to avoid a defeat in a competitive match and, in the process, secured their first ever point in a European Championship qualifier. During that same campaign, San Marino scored their first competitive away goal in 14 years as Matteo Vitaioli found the back of the net in a 2-1 defeat to Lithuania, with the Lithuanians having to rely on a 94th minute goal from Lukas Spalvis to deny San Marino their second point in qualification. San Marino returned to Oslo during their 2018 World Cup qualification campaign for the first time since their 10-0 demolition, with Mattia Stefanelli gaining a small measure of revenge as he brought the game level at 1-1 in the 57th minute, before the Norwegians would eventually go on to win 4-1. Later in that same campaign, San Marino lost 8-0 to Germany in Serravalle. Following the match, German forward Thomas Müller commented, "I understand that for them it is special to play against the world champions. I understand also that they can only defend with tough tackling. I don't understand the point of such uneven games like these, even more so because of the crowded fixture list." The president of Müller's club side Bayern Munich, Karl-Heinz Rummenigge, echoed Müller's statements, stating that San Marino has got nothing to do with professional football. In response, San Marino's Director of Communications, Alan Gasparoni, compiled a 10-point rebuttal to Müller, within which Gasparoni outlined how football is for everyone, not just for the select few at the top of the game, as well as how the San Marinese FA were able to put the money made from that game towards causes such as building pitches in remote areas, as well as other salient points, proving that no matter how much San Marino get bullied on the pitch, they refuse to be bullied off of it. The past few years have followed a similar trend for San Marino, continuing to be the proverbial whipping boys of international European football. However, they have attained a few noteworthy accolades in that time. On November 16, 2019, Filippo Berardi scored in a 3-1 loss to Kazakhstan in a Euro 2020 qualifier, the first time they had found the net in 2 years since a 5-1 defeat to Azerbaijan, and their first goal at home in 6 years since that 5-1 defeat to Poland in 2013. In 2020, San Marino recorded their fourth competitive draw, following a 0-0 result against Liechtenstein, and followed this up a month later with their fifth draw in another goalless affair against Gibraltar. This heralded several firsts for the team: the first major tournament in which they had gained more than 1 point, the first time they had gained more than 1 point in a calendar year, and the first time that they had gone unbeaten without conceding a single goal in 2 consecutive competitive matches. In March of 2022, San Marino played their first official match against a non-European nation, as they took on Cape Verde in a friendly played in a neutral venue in Spain. The game would end in a 2-0 victory for the African side, who were ranked 72nd in the world at the time. Later that year, San Marino hosted a second African side at the Stadio Olimpico, as the 198th ranked Seychelles came to Serravalle. This was seen as a huge chance for the San Marino to gain their second victory, however they failed to capitalise on their opportunities, and the game finished in a 0-0 draw, ending an 18-game losing streak for San Marino. In the 2023 Nations League, they were placed in Group 2 of League D, alongside Malta and Estonia, but once again, failed to secure a single point or score a single goal. Since the Nations League was launched in 2018, San Marino are the only European team who have failed to score in the 3 incarnations of the competition that have taken place. Since that first official game all the way back in 1990 against Switzerland, San Marino have played a total of 194 matches, with their most recent taking place during the production of this video. They have a record of 1 win, 8 draws, and 185 defeats. They have scored a total of 29 goals and conceded 808, giving them a goal difference of -779. So it begs the question, was Thomas Müller right when he said that playing this team was a waste of time? No. Absolutely, categorically no. In the world of modern football, it's easy to get caught up in the rhetoric that success is all that matters. Trophies, superstar signings, billionaire takeovers. For teams like San Marino, they embody why so many of us fell in love with the sport in the first place. Simply playing the game because we love to play the game. San Marino will likely never qualify for a major tournament, but that doesn't mean they don't deserve the right to play and to live out their dreams. The same dreams that a lot of us had as youngsters. pulling on our nation's jersey, and stepping out onto the pitch to represent our people and to represent ourselves. There's a reason why Massimo Bonini refused to play for Italy and waited for San Marino to gain eligibility. For him, it wasn't about success. It was about holding on to his identity and playing for his nation, which is something that can only be admired. San Marino may be ranked as the worst national team in the world, but with the values they hold, their attitude towards representing their nation, and their love of playing simply because they love the sport itself, there is no doubt that they will be ranked number 1 in the hearts and minds of football fans all around the world.